Elysia had always lived in the shadow of her stepmother's beauty and ambition. In the palace, whispers followed her everywhere she went, cruel murmurs that reminded her of the sharp contrast between her own soft features and the stepmother's commanding elegance. Even as a child, Elysia had been taught to stay quiet, to smile politely, and to never attract attention. Yet beneath her calm exterior, she carried a heart full of dreams, of freedom, and of a life where she could choose her own path. It was a cold morning when the stepmother's cruelty reached its cruelest form. The sun had barely risen, and the marble halls echoed with servants hurrying to prepare for the day. Elysia walked slowly, holding her skirts close, when her stepmother appeared at the top of the grand staircase. Her gaze fell upon Elysia with the weight of contempt. "You are an embarrassment," she declared, her voice sharp enough to cut through stone. "Your hair, your face, everything about you is meant to shame me. No more. Today the court will see your worth or lack of it." Before Elysia could plead or run, guards stepped forward. They guided her to a private chamber where mirrors reflected her pale face, her wide eyes filled with fear. And then, without mercy, the stepmother's magic or her skill with dark charms stripped Elysia of her hair. The moment the last strand fell, a gasp echoed through the chamber. Elysia's fingers touched her bare scalp, trembling. "You are nothing," her stepmother spat, turning on her heel and leaving Elysia alone, humiliated in the silent room. Outside, servants whispered, some with pity, some with glee. Elysia felt the sting of shame, a heavy weight pressing on her chest. She wanted to hide forever, to disappear into the shadows of the palace gardens, where the flowers seemed to understand her pain more than anyone else ever could. By midday, the humiliation had reached the ears of the court. Whispers traveled fast, twisting the story, painting her as cursed, powerless, and unworthy. Elysia tried to keep her head down, to ignore the sneers, but each glance, each pointed finger, drove her deeper into despair. As evening fell, the palace walls grew colder, and Elysia found herself wandering the outer gardens, the chill of the wind matching the emptiness inside her. The marble fountains glimmered under the moonlight, but even their beauty seemed distant, untouchable. She sank onto a stone bench, feeling smaller than she had ever felt in her life. Her tears fell quietly, each one a confession of hopelessness. It was then that she sensed a presence, a shadow moving silently among the trees. Her heart leapt, part fear, part curiosity. From the darkness emerged a figure, tall and imposing, yet with a calm, almost regal air. His eyes, dark and unreadable, seemed to look straight into her soul. "I've been watching," the man said, his voice deep, carrying authority and a strange warmth at the same time. "You are not as weak as they claim." Elysia shivered. Who are you?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. "I am Kale," he said simply, "King of the Northern Realms. Some call me Alpha, some call me cruel, but I do not act without reason. And tonight reason brought me to you." She stared at him, bewildered. A king, this fierce, distant, commanding figure, stood before her, and yet, for reasons she could not name, she did not feel the urge to flee. There was something in his gaze, a mix of curiosity and intensity that made her heart beat faster. "You are bald," he said bluntly, though there was no mockery in his tone. "And yet I see no shame in you. You have strength hiding under that fear." "I sense it," Elysia's chest tightened. "Strength, I am nothing now. My stepmother..." Her voice broke and she could not continue. Kale stepped closer, his presence overwhelming yet protective. "Do not confuse their cruelty with truth. They may strip your hair, but they cannot strip your spirit, not unless you allow it." For the first time that day, a flicker of hope warmed her chest. Someone, even a king, believed in her beyond what everyone else saw. Yet fear clawed at her. Why would you care?" He studied her for a moment as though weighing his words. "Because the world is cruel and you are caught in it. And because there is something about you that cannot be ignored. Something powerful." Before Elysia could respond, Kale's expression darkened slightly. He looked toward the palace, toward the windows where her stepmother would surely be watching. "There is a curse upon you," he said, "ancient and cruel, tied to the envy of those who fear what you might become. It seeks to control, to diminish, to humiliate. I have felt it in the winds, in the trees, even in the shadows of the halls." Elysia swallowed hard. "A curse?" she asked. "Then, what can I do? How can I?" Kale placed a firm hand on her shoulder. His touch was grounding, commanding, yet gentle in its own way. "You must survive it," he said. And to survive, you must understand what lies within you. Power, courage, and perhaps something more. Her eyes widened. More? What do you mean? He gave a small, almost unreadable smile. That is for you to discover. And for now, you must trust me, though I know you have no reason to do so. The wind rustled the leaves, carrying the scent of night and secrets. Elysia felt the tension between fear and something else, something she had never allowed herself to feel before. Was it hope? Or was it the strange pull toward the man who had appeared like a shadow from legend? Cale stepped back, his eyes never leaving hers. Tonight you are not alone, he said. But know this, the curse does not sleep and the world will continue to test you. I can protect you from some dangers, but not all. Some trials. You must face yourself. Elysia's throat tightened. She wanted to protest, to argue that she was not strong enough, not brave enough. And yet somewhere deep inside she felt the faintest flicker of defiance. She would not disappear entirely, not if she could help it. As Cale turned to leave, he glanced back at her. I will return, he promised. The night is long and the shadows are deep. But I have a sense that your journey is only beginning. And when you are ready, the truth of your power and your destiny will call to you. Elysia remained seated on the cold stone bench long after he had vanished into the night. The moonlight shimmered on her bare scalp, and for the first time, she did not see only humiliation. She saw a beginning. Something fragile yet unbroken, waiting to grow. The wind whispered through the palace gardens, carrying a warning she could not fully understand. The curse her stepmother had cast was still there, dark and unyielding. And yet in that moment, Elysia allowed herself to imagine a different future, one in which she was not merely a victim, but a survivor, a woman with a strength that even kings might notice. And in the distance, beyond the walls of the palace, Cale's shadow lingered, watching. The Alpha King had chosen to step into her world, not as a savior, but as a guide, a challenge, and perhaps something more. The night held its breath, and the first threads of fate began to weave themselves around them both. Cliffhanger. As the palace slept, a dark force stirred in the halls above, sensing the shift in power and the spark of defiance in Elysia's heart. Somewhere, her stepmother's magic twisted and plotted, ensuring that the trials of the young princess had only just begun. The fortress Kyle brought Elysia to stood on a jagged cliff, where the wind roared like the cries of unseen spirits. Its black stone walls rose high into the clouds, seeming more a part of the mountain than a man-made home. Elysia had never seen anything so imposing, so distant from the warmth of the palace she had known. Yet despite the cold and the shadows, there was a strange sense of protection here, a feeling that within these walls, she might find strength she did not yet know she possessed. Kyle led her through winding corridors lined with torches, the flames casting long, flickering shadows. His presence was steady, commanding, yet there was no harshness in his guidance, only a quiet insistence that she follow, that she learn. Elysia's heart raced with a mixture of awe and fear. She did not understand why this powerful, feared king had taken such interest in her. And yet she could not deny the pull she felt toward him, as if fate itself had drawn them together. You must understand, Cale said as they reached a high balcony overlooking the mountains. The curse upon you is old and cruel. It was not cast lightly, and it will not easily be broken. It feeds on fear, on doubt, on the belief that you are weak. To survive it, you must find your own strength. Do you understand? Elysia nodded, though uncertainty gnawed at her. I want to, but I do not know if I can. Kyle's gaze softened just slightly. Strength is not always measured by what you can do, but by what you endure. The first step is to face what frightens you, even when it feels impossible. Her first trial came at dawn. Cale led her to a courtyard shrouded in mist where strange creatures roamed, beasts that shimmered with shadows and moved with unnatural speed. Calicia's stomach twisted with fear as she realized these were no ordinary animals. Yet Cale did not step in to protect her immediately. Instead, he watched silent as she confronted them. Her first instinct was to run, but then she remembered his words. Strength is in endurance. She took a deep breath and focused, moving slowly, deliberately, her heart pounding. The beast circled, testing her resolve, but she held her ground. One creature lunged, and instinctively she raised her arm, a small spark of power. Her own power, though she did not yet understand it, deflecting the attack. The beasts paused, as if surprised, then vanished into the mist. Kale's voice came from behind her. Good, you felt it, didn't you? That spark? It is yours. Not theirs, not your stepmother's, yours alone. Elysia looked down at her hands, astonished. I did that? He nodded. Yes. And it is only the beginning. Over the following days, Kale trained her in ways that tested both body and mind. She climbed cliffs in storms, learned to move silently through forests that seemed alive with whispering spirits, and faced illusions that conjured her deepest fears. Each trial pushed her to the brink, yet with every challenge she felt herself changing. Her hair, though still short, began to show signs of growth, not fully but in small, stubborn wisps that seemed to pulse with life. Kale explained that it was a sign of awakening power, of her growing confidence and resilience. Their bond deepened with each passing day. Kale was patient but firm, his presence both intimidating and comforting. Elysia found herself drawn to him, not only because he had saved her from her stepmother's cruelty, but because he saw her as more than the world allowed her to be. And Kyle, for all his strength and reputation, found himself unsettled by his growing feelings for her, a mix of admiration, protectiveness, and something more profound he did not yet name. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, they trained on a balcony overlooking the fortress. Elysia struggled to lift a heavy stone, her arms trembling. Kale watched silently, then stepped beside her, placing his hands over hers to guide the movement. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the world seemed to shrink to the two of them, the wind, the mountains, and the lingering mist fading into the background. You are stronger than you believe, Kale said softly, his voice carrying the weight of truth and something unspoken. But strength is not enough. You must trust yourself, and in time, you will trust me. Elysia's heart quickened. I want to, I think. But it is hard. Kale's gaze softened, a rare vulnerability passing through his eyes. It is always hard at first. But courage is not the absence of fear. It is the choice to act in spite of it. And I believe you are ready to choose. Their growing closeness did not go unnoticed. The shadows of the fortress seemed to whisper, carrying echoes of the curse that still lingered. One night, as Elysia slept in a chamber filled with the scent of mountain herbs, she dreamed of her stepmother, twisted and cruel, laughing as dark energy swirled around her. The dream shifted, showing Kale, standing firm against a storm of shadow, and then, inexplicably, it showed Elysia herself, bald yet radiant, her hair growing as she lifted a sword of light. She awoke with a start, heart pounding. The dream lingered in her mind, a mixture of warning and promise. The curse was still there, but so was her power, growing quietly, waiting for her to claim it. The next day, Kale took her to the Hall of Echoes, a place where the walls reflected memories of the past, showing moments of triumph, failure, and choice. Here, Elysia faced illusions of her life, her stepmother's cruelty, the whispers of the court, and her own self-doubt. At first she faltered, shrinking from the visions, but then she remembered Kale's words, remembered the spark she had felt in the courtyard. She lifted her chin and for the first time spoke aloud. I am not weak. I will not be afraid. The illusions faltered, then faded, leaving only the quiet echoes of the hall. Elysia turned to Kale, a mixture of relief and newfound confidence in her eyes. I think I understand now, she said. The curse, it only has power if I let it. Kale nodded, pride and something deeper flickering in his gaze. Exactly. And the stepmother's magic, while strong, cannot control what you refuse to surrender. You have begun to reclaim yourself. And that is only the beginning. As they left the hall, the wind howled outside, carrying with it the distant sound of a raven's call, a warning, perhaps, of the trials yet to come. Elysia sensed it, her senses sharper, her mind more alert. The curse was still a shadow over her life, but for the first time, she did not feel entirely powerless. One night, during a storm, Kale found her standing alone on the balcony, the rain soaking her clothes, her hair plastered to her scalp. He approached silently and without a word handed her a cloak. She looked at him, the lightning illuminating his stern yet gentle expression. Why do you care so much? She asked, her voice trembling. I am just a girl with nothing. You are not just a girl, Kale said firmly, his eyes locking with hers. You are a force, whether you see it or not. And I will not let anyone take that from you. Not your stepmother, not the curse, not even yourself if you falter. Elysia's chest tightened, her heart both fearful and hopeful. She wanted to speak, to say something that would capture all she felt. But words failed her. Kyle simply reached out, resting his hand on hers, and in that quiet moment, they shared a connection deeper than any conversation could convey. A bond forged through fear, trials, and unspoken understanding. The storm raged around them, yet inside there was a calm, fragile, and luminous. And somewhere in the darkness the whispers of the curse stirred. Sensing the strength growing in the young princess, it would not relent easily. But Alicia had begun to awaken, and with Kale by her side, she felt, for the first time, that perhaps she could face whatever darkness awaited her. Cliffhanger. In the middle of the night, a shadow crept along the fortress walls, silent and deliberate. The stepmother had sent her most trusted agent, a sorceress skilled in curses and deceit, to reclaim control over Alicia. The princess's new strength had not gone unnoticed, and the real test of courage, trust, and the bond between her and Kale was about to begin. The fortress lay shrouded in mist as dawn broke over the mountains. Alicia stood at the edge of the balcony, her hair now grown back in soft, shimmering strands, a symbol of the power she had reclaimed. Her eyes, once filled with fear, now held a quiet determination. The storm of the previous night had passed, leaving behind the scent of wet stone and fresh earth, and in that calm, Alicia felt the full weight of what lay ahead. Kyle approached silently, his presence steady yet gentle. "The time has come," he said, his voice low, carrying both authority and care. "Your stepmother will not relent. She knows you have grown stronger, and she will try to undo everything. But you are ready, Alicia. I will stand beside you." Alicia nodded, her hands clenched at her sides. I am ready. I will not be afraid anymore." The journey back to her stepmother's palace was fraught with tension. The air seemed thicker, heavier, as if the curse itself was aware of her defiance. Shadows twisted in the corners of the corridors, flickering unnaturally, and the servants avoided her gaze, unsure whether to show respect or fear. Yet Alicia moved forward with a confidence that surprised even her. As the great doors of the palace opened before them, her stepmother appeared, her face twisted in rage and disbelief. "How dare you return, bald girl?" she spat, though her words rang hollow. Her power had been strong, yes, but she had underestimated Alicia. The princess's hair shimmered in the sunlight, and her eyes glowed with a quiet strength. "You will not control me anymore," Alicia said firmly, her voice echoing through the halls. "Your curses, your whispers, your cruelty, none of it can touch me unless I allow it. And I will not." The stepmother's eyes narrowed, and with a flick of her hand, dark energy swirled through the air. Shadows coiled around the corners of the room, curling and twisting as if alive. Alicia stepped forward, feeling the power within her pulse like a heartbeat in her chest. She did not falter. She did not turn away. Kale moved beside her, a silent shield and anchor. But it was clear this was not his fight to take. Alicia had to claim her strength fully herself. She raised her hands, letting the energy within her flow outward. Light radiated, warm and strong, pushing back the darkness. The shadows hissed and recoiled, unable to withstand the power that came from courage, trust, and reclaimed self-worth. The stepmother stumbled back, her eyes wide with shock. "Impossible," she cried. You were meant to be weak." Alicia's lips curved into a calm, almost serene smile. "I was never weak. You only wanted me to believe that I was. But I see now. Strength comes from within, and no one can take that from me." With a final surge, the dark energy shattered, leaving the palace quiet, almost peaceful. The curse, which had hung like a shadow over Alicia's life, had been broken, not by magic alone, but by her courage, her resilience, and her choice to embrace her own power. Kale stepped forward, his eyes softening as he took in the sight of Alicia standing tall. "You have done it," he said, awe and pride mingling in his voice. "You faced fear and you claimed your destiny. Not even the darkest magic could withstand that." Alicia turned to him, gratitude and something deeper shining in her gaze. "I could not have done it without you. Your guidance, your belief in me. It gave me the courage to see myself clearly." He reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers. "And yet it was always within you. I only helped you recognize it." The palace, once a place of humiliation and fear, now felt transformed. Servants peeked from behind doors, whispers of wonder and awe spreading through the halls. They had witnessed a princess reclaim her power, and the story of her courage would echo for generations. Even as calm returned, Alicia knew that this was not the end of her journey. The world beyond the palace was full of challenges, of shadows and unseen forces. But she no longer feared them. She had learned that fear could be faced, and that strength once claimed could not easily be taken. As the sun rose higher, illuminating the marble floors and gilded walls, Cale and Elysia walked together through the palace side by side. There was a quiet understanding between them, a bond forged through trials, trust, and the shared experience of confronting darkness. Their hearts beat with a rhythm that spoke of partnership, of respect, and of a growing connection that neither had fully named, but both felt deeply. Later, in the quiet of the palace gardens, Elysia looked up at Kyle. "What happens now?" she asked softly. "The curse is broken. But what about everything else?" Cale studied her for a long moment, his expression thoughtful. "Now," he said finally, "we face life together. The darkness may still exist, but we have proven that it cannot overpower what is true. You have proven that you are more than they ever believed. And perhaps it is time for the world to see it as well." Elysia's lips curved into a smile, small but full of confidence. For the first time in her life, she felt free. Not free from challenge, not free from responsibility, but free in the knowledge that she could face whatever came next, and that she would not face it alone. The wind carried the scent of flowers and fresh rain, and the fortress above seemed to echo her triumph. In that moment, the young princess and the Alpha King stood together, united not only by circumstance but by mutual respect, trust, and a bond that had been forged in fire and shadow. And yet, even as the light spread through the palace, a distant murmur lingered on the wind, a reminder that the world was wide, that challenges would come, and that the story of courage, love, and power was never truly finished. Cale tightened his grip on her hand, sensing her thoughts, her awareness of the lingering uncertainties. "Whatever comes next," he said, "we face it together. You are no longer the girl they tried to define. You are Elysia, the one who has claimed her own destiny." Elysia nodded, her heart swelling with a mixture of triumph and quiet anticipation. She had faced humiliation, darkness, and fear. She had reclaimed her power and learned that true strength came from within. And standing beside Cale, she understood that trust and loyalty, courage and love, were forces just as formidable as any curse. The sun climbed higher, bathing the palace in golden light, and for the first time in years, Elysia felt truly at peace. The shadows of the past had been confronted, the curse had been broken, and her spirit was unshakable. She knew the world beyond the palace would bring new trials, but she no longer feared them. Cale's gaze met hers, steady and unwavering, and in that silent exchange, a promise passed between them, a promise of partnership, of protection, and of a future where neither would stand alone. Cliffhanger ending. As they stood together, a sudden chill passed over the gardens, and a shadow moved across the walls, a reminder that the supernatural world was vast and unpredictable. Elysia's journey of courage had begun, but new mysteries, greater powers, and unseen forces awaited her beyond the horizon. And the bond she shared with Cale would be tested in ways neither had yet imagined.